Hey there and welcome back to Evie's Acres. I'm Evie and today I'm going to show you some more of the seeds that I'm sowing for my garden this year. Today though, I'd like to focus primarily on flowers and herbs. So I may, if I have some time, go into a few other fruits and vegetables that we're going to grow this year. But the focus is really on a lot of these flowers. My goal is to bring in a lot of pollinators to really help with the fruit development with my fruits and vegetables. So that's one of my main reasons for having so many, but also some of these flowers and herbs, of course, can have medicinal or culinary purposes as well. So I'm sure I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a future video, but for now, I'm just going to show you what I plan to grow. So starting with the flowers, let's look at some of the items I purchased from, well, I'll start with this one. From Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, I have some Sweet Alyssum, which I've never actually grown before. So I'm interested to see how this turns out. And then I have several seed packets that I purchased from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds. First one here is the Calendula Snow Princess. I have another calendula. This one's called Orange King. I think that'll look really pretty and vibrant. Then I have, one of the things I really like about Baker Creek is that they will send you usually a free seed packet with an order. I don't know if you have to order a certain number of seeds for them to send this to you or not. I tend to order a lot of seeds, so I don't know. But anyway, here's one of them that I received, Canary Bird Zinnia, really bright yellow. And then I have a few different marigolds. One is the Brocade Mix. Yep. And here is a petite mix of marigolds. I also, I think I mentioned in an earlier video, I have a little bit of a problem with seeds, to the point where, ordering it online isn't enough. Sometimes I'll see a packet and I'll just pick it up from Dollar General or Dollar Tree or Walmart, wherever I am. If I see something and I think, oh, I don't think I have that, I probably do. So here's one of the ones that I picked up. I think I got this from like a Dollar General, just walking through the aisles. Sorry, there's lint in my face. Okay, so then the next group of seeds here I have are nasturtiums, which I kind of have a hit or miss experience with these. So last year, while we were living in Southwest Florida, I sowed seeds for these cherry rose jewel nasturtium, and they sprouted, but then they didn't make it. They didn't really grow fully. So I don't know what happened there, but I'm gonna try again this year. Also, these dwarf jewel mix nasturtium, it's just basically different colors in this mix, so I won't know what I have until they come up. This one I'm really excited to try. It's called the Tall Trailing Mix nasturtium. So I'm gonna sow this. I actually think I'm gonna sow this directly. I don't know if I'm actually gonna put this in a pod. I'm gonna probably sow this directly into the soil, next to some sort of trellis structure, which we'll be putting up in the next couple weeks. And then a couple of other vining plants I have, or seeds for vining plants that I have, are these Morning Glories. And another one. So I'm really excited to see how those go. I'd like to have those just in kind of one section of the garden, as a separate kind of different focal point compared to the other things I have in mind. So, okay, so that's one of my boxes of seeds. All right, so then here's another box. I have two more to go through. I want to show you. All right, so in this box I have several herbs as well as some flowers. I'm just kind of going through it a little bit, make sure. Yeah, and then kind of, I think I have one of my ground cover in here. But the first one actually at the top of this pile of seed packets, I purchased this seed packet from Botanical Interests. It's another type of basil. This one is called, I pronounce it purple Petra, because I actually have a sister with that name. Beautiful name. So shout out to Petra. I know some people pronounce it Petra, but I'm pronouncing it that way because I like it. Then I also have a couple of types of chamomile, again from Baker Creek. German chamomile. There's this Kelway Golden. I didn't realize that there were even variations of, or I didn't realize that there were varieties of chamomile until I went online and looked. But same kind of goes for echinacea, so, which is also called coneflower sometimes. But here we have a mixture of what they call mellow yellows, coneflowers, which again are just echinacea. Here's paradoxica, or paradoxa. Yeah, paradoxa echinacea. Then a purpurea echinacea, which I don't know why they don't just call it purple, but it, you know, it's pretty. It looks pretty. All right, and then I have a couple types of barrage. Apparently, you can get barrage in white, or what I'm used to seeing, which is this more blue barrage color flowers. So excited for that. These are all really good pollinators, or pollinator attractors. So it'll attract a lot of like bees and other things that are great for the garden. So here's some anise, hyssop, which I find fascinating because it's in the Bible. I mean, a lot of these are mentioned in the Bible actually, but that's one that I find very interesting. Here is a wild bergamot. Bee balm is the other name it's known by. All right, now here's a seed packet from M.I. Gardner Heirloom Seeds called Johnny Jump Up Viola. These are actually edible. I'll just read what's on the back of the packet so that I don't misrepresent what they're saying here, but it says adding violas to your diet can be extremely beneficial because they're high in micronutrients and antioxidants from their vibrant colors. So these, they say they look really good as borders, edging along rockeries because they grow so low to the ground, and they also can make really nice fragrant cut flowers. So multi-purpose, I love it. All right, here are some Thai double blue butterfly pea flowers that I'm gonna grow. Here are some, it's called Anytime Mix stock flowers. These remind me a little bit of some flowers that used to grow kind of along a border in front of my parents' house when I was growing up. So that's why I bought those. And then also from Baker Creek, once again, I have these black trumpet sapling I'm gonna mispronounce this. Salpiglossis. Black trumpet sapling, I did it again. These are black trumpet sappiglossis flowers, which I've never grown, but they look just gorgeous. I love the dark purple color. And then here I just have some baby's breath. These, honestly, I'm mainly sowing these seeds because I'd like to have that sort of variety and the height and depth of the flowers, but also because I think I've never done flower arranging, but part of me kind of wants to try it, and I feel like it would be neat to have those available to do that. So we'll see how that goes. So for today's third and final box, I'll first show you some of the seeds I have in this box that I'm actually not going to put into these cells because it just makes sense to direct sow them once I figure out where I want to put them. I have a few varieties of sunflowers that I'm going to sow. Here's a tall sunflower variety from Botanical Interests. And going back to Baker Creek again, I have the Red Torch Mexican sunflower. This one I grew a few of these in I grew a few of these in South Florida last year and they were just gorgeous. This Autumn Beauty sunflower, it grows so tall. It's really, really gorgeous. And then finally I have this Hoppy Black Dye sunflower. These seeds you can actually use to create a really deep bluish purple kind of dye, which I don't know if I'd want to do that. I don't know if I would use it for that purpose, but I do find that fascinating. I think it's really neat that, again, it has multiple purposes. Okay, so some of the other flowers that I have here include this Cherry Brandy Rudbeckia from Baker Creek. I also have another one from Botanical Interests. It's their Alaska Shasta Daisy. And then here, I think I purchased this from a big box store last year. It's called Hollyhock flowers. These look a little different because they basically add something, I guess, to the seeds to make them easier to see and thereby sow into the soil. So these are a perennial flower. They'll come back every year. I'm really looking forward to, hopefully, these coming up. But this is a dwarf variety of hollyhocks. So I don't know exactly how tall they're going to grow up to be, but we'll see. Oh no, actually it says here on the back, it should grow up to be about 2 to 3 feet tall. And it actually takes like half a year to over a year for these to bloom. So this is something that when I sow it, actually I think this is something I'd have to sow directly too. When I sow these seeds, it's going to be, it'll be in a spot where I am confident that I really want them to be, because it'll be kind of empty for a while. All right, so I have a few more here that I purchased from Botanical Interests. These are called Love in a Mist African Bride. I think that's a beautiful contrast in those flowers, so I'm looking forward to those coming up. Then I also have this Galilee blend of larkspur flowers. I think that'll be a fun variety of colors. Here's a Kilimanjaro white African marigold flower. And I also have feverfew, which is primarily for medicinal purposes, but it'll also be a nice looking flower. I have a few varieties of milkweed seeds that I'm going to plant this year. Here's one of them. It's from Botanical Interests and it's called Hello Yellow. It's a bright yellow milkweed flower. I also have red, or what they might call swamp milkweed, that I purchased from Baker Creek. I believe I got this last year. And then I have, they just call it butterfly weed, milkweed. But, and I actually have 2 packages of that. I think one of these I started using last year. The other one is unopened. But basically, the milkweed is really neat because it attracts those monarch butterflies that are just gorgeous. And so I'm planning to plant quite a bit of it. I have a good friend of mine. She and I actually share the same name, first name, and our sons share the exact same birthday. So that's really cool. But anyway, she had some milkweed growing in her yard, and something that she and her daughter were doing is, just raising up these caterpillars to become butterflies. And these caterpillars would consume so much of the milkweed. It was pretty ridiculous. I had no idea they would consume that much, but so I plan to plant a lot of it because I really like butterflies. And then finally I have some rose mint, or agastache, I think is how you pronounce it. And so yeah, these are really fragrant, kind of minty smelling lavender colored flowers that, again, I think will just add a nice variety to the different flowers that we're gonna have around the property. And my plan is to sort of interplant these flowers among my fruits and vegetables, but also to have a really nice kind of border around the larger garden area, as well as around the house. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Today I'm gonna sow these seeds, the ones that I'm not gonna direct sow into the ground. Stay tuned. All right, the sun's pretty bright out here today. For so early in the morning. I try to do as much gardening related activity as I can in the morning before work, which does require me to wake up earlier. I like being up when the sun is up, and these days the sun's coming up like just before 6 a.m. At least for me, it seems like it's a lot earlier. So I'm usually up around 5:30. It's not bright enough to do much at 5:30, but right around 6 a.m. I can come out here and get a few things done, or at the very least check on the progress of things that are going on. So you'll see here I'm actually using slightly different cells than I used in the previous video. These I just ordered online, and they're very inexpensive. I wanted to experiment with using these smaller cells. I know that these will not last probably beyond this season, but I wanted to get an idea of whether using this size of cell at least would be more beneficial rather than the larger celled containers. I know it probably will vary based on the types of seeds sown, but the other reason I got these is because clearly it's a lot faster to fill these up compared to the larger cells I have. But again, if these turn out to not be that great for my seeds, then I won't use them again. And again, I just don't know that they'll last beyond this season. If you're roosters, if you're wondering why I am kind of making a slight depression in them, part of the reason I do it is because I want to make sure that the soil isn't totally packed in. I don't want it to be super packed into the cell, but I don't want there to be any major air pockets. And it also helps me get an idea of just how much depth I have available to me to sow the seeds. Because for some seeds, you want to put them, just a fraction of an inch, small fraction of an inch below the soil. Others, you want them to be surface sown. And then while others, you can set them on the soil and then just sprinkle a light layer of soil on top of that, and they're good to go. All right, so I think these are good to, yeah, that's done. So yeah, use a lot less soil this time for those. All right, so this should go pretty quickly. And as soon as I'm done with this, I've got to wash up and jump on the computer for work. So I'm gonna just fast forward you through this process. Actually, let me adjust my camera so you can see what I'm doing. Here you can see some of the variety of the actual seeds, the size of the seeds. You see how these are for the orange king calendula, the brocade mix of marigolds. This is what their seeds look like. Isn't that neat? That's so cool. They're so different. For the nasturtium, they look quite a bit different. They look almost like, I think they look almost like beans. I don't know if you can see that, but they have a very different look by comparison. I think I said that I was gonna sow these directly, but I'm actually gonna try these in the pots. This is the, I'm gonna mispronounce it, Kiryu, I think. It's a Japanese type of morning glory. That's what those seeds look like, so that's exciting. I'm really interested to see how these turn out. They almost look like little chocolate chips, like mini chocolate chips. Very cool. I'm always fascinated. Just my mind is blown anytime I take a moment and think about all that was created in just 6 days. And for that to be created and then turn into something so beautiful. I mean, that's an amazing design to get going on here. All right, so now these are, so for these morning glory moonflowers, that's what the seeds look like. Isn't that nuts? I mean, they look like, they actually kind of look like some kind of nut. I don't know. So neat though. This is why I like gardening so much. I really like, obviously, this process of sowing seeds and then seeing the little seedlings come up. And I don't know anyone who enjoys weeding, you know, like that part of the process isn't really a favorite, but I will say I love how it looks when it's done. Like that part I enjoy. It's kind of like, I don't like doing dishes, but I really like how much cleaner my kitchen looks overall just from doing the dishes. Like that's how I feel about it. So I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna usually listen to some really good music while I'm doing it so that I'm happily distracted. Okay, so for the echinacea, they look like that. That texture is different. Tiny these German chamomile seeds are. So small. I plan to use raised beds and what I call elevated raised beds to grow up a lot of stuff this year. And that is in large part because the soil in our area is clay soil. And it's just very, very hard. My preference is to have a no-till garden, meaning that I prefer to not have to dig into and stir up the soil in order to make it, in order to add fertility to it. I think if I did that, I could probably speed up the fertility process quite a bit. But because I'm also at a point in my life where I don't necessarily want to be on the ground when I'm gardening, I'm actually more interested in finding options where I don't have to bend over quite as much or be on my knees quite as much. I also see that as an advantage, a way of, encouraging folks like my mom when she comes to visit to want to be in the garden, because she wouldn't have to bend down. She could, it could be at hip level for her to harvest a tomato or whatever. So, just trying to think in long-term my plan is to continue moving chickens and other future animals on the homestead over the grass to then use their manure to fertilize it over time and just continue growing the fertility I want to have using cover crops and other items. I will direct sow certain things like the sunflowers, for example. They tend to be pretty hardy. I'm hopeful that they will do really well in wherever I put them. I realized while editing this video that I forgot to record an outro, so I'm going to just share with you some images of the seedlings that are growing up so far from the seeds that were sown a couple of weeks ago. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.